Friday morning, 7:30. You're very welcome along to OTB AM. Shane, good morning to you.
Morning, Adrian. How are
Colm,
things?
good morning to you.
Adrian and Shane, happy Friday.
What are you Googling right now, Colm?
Just what happened last night. No, I was putting it out there, right? I was having this chat the other day with someone, and we were like, how did Mass start? What's the first line that the priest would say?
I thought you meant how did someone come up with the idea of Mass? But
No,
you
I
actually
understand.
mean
I understand the origins. But how does the priest start Mass? Because at the end they were like, let's go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God. So we have that. But how does Mass start? Was it a prayer or a general greeting?
I don't know how this all started, but I do know that 5 minutes ago I picked up the Daily Mail and was devastated to
I
read.
couldn't believe Adrian's face. He hadn't heard the
I
news.
thought he was
Such a
joking.
big part of my college years, particularly. Jerry Springer, the man who invented trash TV, it says here. I would not describe this trash TV.
It was such good TV.
Compelling TV, has passed away at the age of just 79.
Jerry. It was like he was just a staple of all of our.
Not right for a chain.
No, that's.
And Barry Humphries during the week as well. All the greats.
Yeah. I was going to say a couple of comedic greats because Jerry Springer show was comedy, wasn't it?
It was annoying. There was annoying on it.
There's a smirk, like sometimes when there was people on the show that were quite clearly mates, but they're shouting at each other, and Jerry has a little smirk behind him. He's like, "This is brilliant." He knew it was brilliant.
A lot of acting, I would have thought, too.
acting.
It was like in everybody's part, right?
Yeah, 100%. No, Jerry Springer was a bit of a legend. Only 79. I was a bit shocked when I heard that yesterday.
I believe a young man, like.
Yeah. So
Got to the bottom of the. If you got to the bottom of the fourth mystery over there, you're still struggling.
I can't get it, but look, we'll move on.
Yeah,
loads
I'd
to talk
be
about.
happy to move on from that one. All right, yeah. To the snooker, of course, because myself and Shane were glued to it last night. Shane, it was.
It's hard to beat it, lads.
Remember now what we decided beforehand. Come on now.
We could have an Irish winner.
plan.
Colin, we could have an Irish winner for the first time since Ken Doherty in '97.
And we'll
Mark
have
Allen.
Plenty of time to talk about that.
Mark Allen's 5-3 ahead of
And
Mark
he's right in the thick
Selby.
of it now in the semi-final. You see, best of 33. We're down to one table, as Shane's been telling us for the last 3 months, it seems, since it kicked off. And
Yeah,
he's flying at 5-3 up and
unbelievable.
cooking along. Lovely break yesterday. He was nip and tuck. He was 4-3 up. Takes the blue and cannons into the pack.
Yeah,
Gets a bit of a lucky break with one of the Reds hovering over a pocket and cleans up pretty
that
much
last
from there.
frame, like Selby could have taken that last frame, and yet it was
Long way to go. How many more sessions could they have?
I think it's 4 sessions in total. To best of 33. It could be 4 sessions.
Right.
Sometimes it's finished in 3. But the way Allen's playing, like the way he's played all season, you wouldn't bet against him. Like he's lost 6 stone, as I was saying the other day. Some of the Irish lads went up to him in Sheffield last week and said, "You're half the man you used to be." He's
Ronnie helped him to.
He did, yeah. Ronnie was fairly pivotal in all that. I once saw Mark Allen hit a 147 at an exhibition. Ronnie was there as well at the Hillgrove Hotel in Monaghan Town.
Wow.
So he's a man that likes a little exhibition. John Virgo was there doing live commentary.
Are they all enthused now by the fact that Ronnie's out? Is that suddenly like
I
the
would say-
vista's open and
Yeah, 100%.
he's here for the taking now?
Because playing Ronnie is you're, like snooker is never really home and away, but when you're playing Ronnie, you're very much the away player. Like nobody wants you to win. The crowd is clearly not behind you. But Ronnie being out, I'd say, gives them all a kick. I'd say I couldn't confidently now predict who is going to win of the remaining 4.
Mark Selby is class, but he's not good for snooker, says John Claffey.
I like Mark Selby as a person, and he's come out and said a lot of good things about his own mental health battles and that sort of thing. And he had a very tough upbringing as well. But his style of play, is fairly tough to watch. I think Ronnie is called him the torturer. It's just slow and it's methodical.
Grinds you down a bit.
Yeah, completely thought out. It's like Cliff Thorburn kind of vibes.
We used to have in the house that I grew up in at home. We used to have a room that was called the Old Shop because, funny enough, it used to be a shop. And myself and my brother converted it into a Crucible Theatre column. And we used to play. We got it for one Christmas. We got snooker table Steve Davis Pot Black.
Ah, yes.
So it wasn't your full size clearly, but it was somewhere between that and one of the little jokey ones.
Yeah.
And we used to go full bore. Like we'd have our little corners. We'd have our drink set up. You'd enter the Crucible. We would play for days on end. There would be absolute war.
I'd say so between brothers.
You knocked the balls. You hit the table. I didn't get that. And we'd our little scoreboard as we went along. So I was suggesting to him now, like 30 years later, that we should try and recreate that at a club somewhere in Dublin.
But you should, for sure. And I think these next few weeks, a lot of people will probably pick up a cue for the first time in years. It's the same as around Wimbledon. Everyone wants to play tennis again.
Brilliant. But for the kids particularly, now, Ruckus, what do you think, Colin? What are your
I
thoughts
can't
on that?
believe the amount of space Eric Dyer gave Marcus Rashford last night for the second goal.
This is what I'm dealing with.
Did you, when you were younger, what was your introduction to snooker? Was it?
My introduction to snooker, Ken was probably my introduction to snooker.
Right.
But not the 97 when I was probably just a bit too young, but the 03.
And did you start playing off the back of that, like?
I didn't play. Like we had a small, tiny snooker table. I mean, one of those tiny
little sort of,
the little crap
you can't
ones.
even count that.
I know,
shit.
you
The
can't.
travel one nearly like.
Yeah, essentially. And then I would have played like misspent youth, playing pool in the pub with your mates.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But I just loved watching it. There was something cathartic about it. There was something relaxing about it. But there was also something insanely intense about it.
Yeah,
And I found that when I'm at. The
Are you a
Crucible as well.
competitive person by nature?
Oh, ridiculously
Are
competitive.
you?
Oh, remarkably competitive.
Like if you were in playing a game against snooker against your brother, for example, if things weren't going.
Yeah, well,
would
potentially.
you-
Myself and the brother get on well. We get on grand.
But how would that be like if it was, 8-all, next round the winner?
I'd freak out. Like, I'd be fine with it, but then if he slagged me on the way home, I'd be like, no, I
Lose it,
can't.
like.
I can't. Even though if we're playing board games at home, I
I
lose
can't
it.
cope with that.
No,
There are
it's-
certain people in my life who, if I get beaten, I'm just not happy with it.
Yeah, it will frustrate the life of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the brotherly stuff is. Do you have a brother, Colm?
No.
No brothers. See, the brother thing is a different vibe.
This is making good Columns.
It is, yeah.
Let us know in the comments why you want us to talk about snooker, and tell us how much you love snooker. Tell us your first memories. Did you watch Higgins in '82, the Black Ball final in '85? Prove Colm wrong here, basically, by filling the comments with snooker.
Darragh O'Toole says that he's assuming that a young me snooker player had to take much harder shots than his brother. # crappy quiz.
There you go. Oh, see what he's done there. Yeah.
Yeah, there was often sleight of hand.
JP Wright, voice actor. Looking at United's fixtures and form, they could drop out of the top 4 and allow Villa or United in. Credit to Newcastle, who were awesome again.
Were you alive for the Black Ball final in '85? No, you would have been too young.
So Villa could actually really get top 4 here. Like, we were kind of joking.
It's like
the
a
other
twin
day.
track. It's a twin track show this morning.
Yeah, we were joking the other day.
I mean,
But
if we're going to
it
talk about
actually is a
football this
possibility.
morning, it'll obviously have to be the United game last night. United Tottenham.
How would you want to call him? You happy? You happy? Yeah.
Is this a trend? Is this 2-2 stuff? 2-0 up at half time and fall to crap in the second half. Is this a trend now? Can we?
You'd be concerned as
Say
United
that.
if you're United on that second half performance, because the 2-0 you're thinking this is game over. The top 4 is secured. I think the top 4 is still secured when you look at the table, but it's more the manner of the
I don't know,
performance.
Shane. I don't know.
Do you think so?
I don't know. I thought
it
it was.
is.
We were only saying 2 days ago. And I think the top
and you
4
have
was
to be
as it
more
was.
surely even more of that belief now.
Just a very, very outside shot of Aston Villa, possibly.
There's
Like,
not.
it is actually remarkable that Spurs are ahead of Villa
Still.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah, just about, like, level on points, but they're ahead of them.
That just says how bad Villa's start of the season
Yeah,
was.
it's incredible, and like the job that Unai Emery's done. And I was thinking in my head this morning, I was envisioning a world where last day of the season, Aston Villa break into the top 4 at the expense of Manchester United. And
The
then
top four is-
Unai Emery's interviewed afterwards, and I'm imagining, would he give any credit to Steven Gerrard? Would he be really humble and
Well,
euphoric and be like,
I think-
look, I was only inheriting a great
He
squad.
could only do that if it was followed by a laugh, because
I know, but I wonder.
15th in the table when he
I don't know why
took
my
over.
mind went there, but that's what I was thinking. I was like,
that
I wonder
was
how gracious he'll be, because it is remarkable the job he's done. I think you're right. I think the top 4 as it is, as we're looking at right now this morning in the table, is probably how it will end. But for Manchester United, yeah, it's concerning. But was very impressed by Tottenham's second half showing, because they were poor in the first half, like really, really poor. And like, I wasn't joking there when I said that, like, Eric Dyer, like, the jockeying, he didn't go near Rashford. I know it's on his weaker side,
stop.
but Rashford
He took it away, he
renowned for
took it away.
power on each foot.
Rio was saying in the analysis after, he was like, he was talking about it as a trend with Dyer.
With Dyer.
Why are you not getting in on top of him? He was saying, why are you not getting in and giving him a bit of a push
Yeah.
and sort of like making yourself felt a bit? Jesus, standing off him. You'd sort of half understand that if he was a little bit wider, but he was really narrow. Like it was.
And I don't know, did Dyer think he was further out from goal or had a tighter angle again? But it, like, from a United perspective, you're looking at being like, this is probably going to be a goal here. As soon as Rashford got control of the ball and it was a 1-on-1 situation, I think Longley was joining in to help.
Yeah.
But if Dyer's is showing him down that side, like, I understand he was like, I don't want him to cut in his right because you'll definitely score then. But that actually, the angle that Rashford shot from is a classic Marcus Rashford angle, where it actually is quite tight. But he had such power and accuracy that it would go in. I had no doubt in my mind that he was going to finish that chance.
Yeah. The United team just doesn't look the same without Martinez or Varane. Like, it's just the,
And also,
the shape
the
is totally
first
off.
choice left back has to play centre back, even though he's doing a pretty good job at that, Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
So the back 4 last night is nowhere near what United's strongest team is. Casemiro is slightly falling off the peak of February's form. But as Phil was saying earlier in the league, and he was like, look, it's just blown out of proportion massively, the hoopla around Casemiro, and that he was never that brilliant when everyone was saying he was remarkable. That Sunday Times article was written about him in February, being
I
like
would
this,
disagree with
one of the
that,
greatest midfielders to play in the Premier League.
He was brilliant.
But also, he's not playing that badly anymore. It's just, it's slightly tailored off from reputation that he had in February.
Maybe he looked brilliant because of the players that were around him. Like if you're thrust into that United team, you're going to look good anyway because there's.
But a lot of players haven't looked good in the last decade when they are thrust into it that are on paper brilliant players.
Yeah.
They've fallen into the United culture of mediocrity. I think he actually helped to raise people's games around them. But I think you've already touched on it, Shane, is that like the missing link at the moment is the Varane Martinez partnership or lack of.
I think the apology
in front of them
was the thing that really, got Tottenham into, pulled Tottenham from the fires last night, wasn't it? I was thinking last night, 2-0 down at half time, post apology. Where do they go from here? Where do they go from here?
Where do they go?
Genuinely, like they're 2-0 down. You have Get Levy out of our club coming in from the stands. You have the United fans singing Harry Kane, we'll see you in June. They get booed off at half time. You are thinking, like, it's not hindsight because we called it out during the week. The apology was embarrassing. Like, what room does it leave you?
Yeah.
And I know, look, they come back, they get 2 goals. There's a hatful of chances that either side really could have.
there was loads.
Ended up winning that game in the end, but they're both so dragged down by their own mediocrity. It feels like they're unwilling to reach out and grasp the level of victory.
That's why it was such an interesting game, because there's such flawed sides, the two of them.
Oh, completely.
And they should be much better than they are, considering what they have resources-wise. But Spurs, like, what an interesting team. There's never been a 0-0 in the Premier League in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And Spurs haven't drawn at home 0-0 in the Premier League since 2017.
That's mad, isn't it?
And also at the same time,
Maybe it's not. I don't know what the
conceding,
stats.
They're conceding bucket loads of goals. So only Leeds United have conceded more in the Premier League in 2023 than Spurs, and yet they're 5th. So they actually are. They're a high-scoring team. If you look at their goals for, like, it's more than most. So you're thinking, geez, if you were to reflect on this campaign for Tottenham, you'd be like, they were kind of Kevin Keegan, Newcastle era, 4-3s and 3-2s, and it was all very exciting.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that it feels around Spurs that they just lose all the time, and yet they're 5th. But fair play to them for coming back.
I feel like if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be saying, I love you, but you are not serious people. They really, I mentioned it a number of weeks back, that they're a bit of a pretend club. Like,
leaning into it here.
Like, one has a tendency to maybe overestimate things, right? Or to overstate positions and stuff.
What do you mean by pretend club, though?
5th in the table. They're just sort of makey-uppy.
They're a great club with great history. I know history.
They're a grand club with grand history. Do you know?
Who, Tottenham?
Yeah. You couldn't say they have great history. You'd never say they were like, if you start to ream off the top 20 clubs in the world, they're not really going to
list off the top 20 Tottenham players that we remember. It'd be a brilliant list of
players. They'd be great, but I mean, Fulham would have a great history.
Not as good as Tottenham
as well. Georgie Best somewhere along the line.
Well, yeah, you throw him in. Yeah.
I don't want to be triggering Tottenham fans this morning. They are a very good club with a very good history.
Yeah,
it just
their
feels
their actual history. Like they won the European Cup, Winners' Cup.
The Logan Roy quote feels appropriate. They're just not. I love you, but you're not serious people.
Oh, that's what you were quoting. Oh, yeah. But they won the UEFA Cup twice, the European Cup, won the FA Cup a number of times. Jimmy Greaves, was he a Spurs player when he scored?
You can't
when he was scoring all those goals?
Winning the FA Cup a number of times is no recommendation of being a great club.
Back in the day, that was a big deal.
Yeah, it was. Big now, but I just think to cast aside them as being kind of like a bit meh.
They are.
I don't think so. I think they flattered to the sea
your
so
buddy
often.
Called it out years ago.
Who's that now?
It's only Tottenham.
Oh, it's only Tottenham. Well, he was quoting Ferguson, but yeah.
John Smith in the comments says Colm got up on the wrong side of the cot. Yeah, he sure did. Brian says Liverpool's run is handy.
Is it the wrong side of the cot when it's the same side every morning?
I only have one side
Shane
to get
is
up
the
on.
question.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, it was the wrong side today.
No, I thought it was totally fine.
Grant. Liverpool's run is handy aside from Villa at home. United have a few tough games left. Final spot is still open. Will Shane take back his comments on Arsenal season if United don't get top 4? Obviously. Like, my point, it was dependent on United finishing. I said I would rather United. Okay, so are any Arsenal fans out there actually going to tell me that, say for example, United win the FA Cup? Now it's unlikely that they'll beat Man City, but say United win the FA Cup, they'll have won the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and if they get top 4, please tell me that season. How can you say that that's a worse season than Arsenal?
Well, I think
if they finish second and don't win any trophies, okay, you might say Arsenal are ahead of where United are at.
Look,
surely,
I don't know. It feels like such a reductive discussion.
Well, if Arsenal win the league, granted.
Why can't we all be successful teams?
It's about trophies at the end of the day, isn't it? It's about development as well, but that would be development from United's perspective.
Yeah, but it already absolutely is development from an Arsenal point of view.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No question.
And the title wasn't one of their targets at the start of this season.
No.
But they've moved on, they've pushed on.
They're probably a victim of their own success, because they've overachieved this season massively. If they were now breaking into the top 4 and in second place, what a job Mikel Arteta has done.
Yeah.
It's just the order of the way they've gone about it. Sorry, just on last night, what do you reckon? Who would you give, or what would you lean towards? Would you give Tottenham credit for their second half showing, or would you criticise Manchester United for falling off?
More probably the former. I'd say
have a bit of both.
Bit of credit for Tottenham, I would give.
What did we say last week? There's plenty of
blame to go around. Yeah, sure. Geez, it was exactly this time last week we were reflecting on the Sevilla disaster. But United were impressive in the first half. I thought, even though they dominated possession and chances, that they seem to lack a bit of confidence in the final third. United, that they're not going about their business as probably fast and as confidently as they could be, certainly when you compare them. And look, it's an unfortunate comparison to 24 hours earlier when their neighbours were dominating Arsenal, but you look at how quick and ruthless City are in the attack, and United are kind of a bit unsure of themselves, encapsulated by their first goal scorer last night, Jadon Sancho, who, beautiful finish, should have got a second afterwards, cleared off the line by Perisic, who himself should have equalised for Spurs.
Yeah,
it felt like a weird
Rashford scored.
Like a top 10 that you would definitely do of goal line clearances of all time.
Oh, that's a
But it felt
great
like
goal line clearances.
last night didn't feel like a brilliant goal line
No,
clearance.
he was just
sort
there.
of
No, it was just good. It was good
dribbling
anticipation.
in. It was dribbling in, albeit.
Oh, it was good.
Well, if he wasn't there, it would have got in.
No, it would have done. I grant you that.
Yeah.
It being a goal line clearance and all.
Yeah, but you have to give him credit for positioning. Actually, the reason it wasn't so exciting was because of his anticipation.
Oh, it's a fair point.
David Hay was good. A few good stops. Bruno Fernandes as well has been impressive in recent weeks for United, when some players haven't.
This is the longest run without a goal at the club. Do you think he's been impressive?
I think he's been a fulcrum in the last few weeks. Like, United haven't been good last few weeks, but Bruno's been one of the players that has probably stood up a little bit more. He still wrecks my head and annoys me. I can't imagine how opposition fans.
Well, I think
feel about him.
everybody was saying that the collapse against Sevilla wouldn't have happened if he was there, and then obviously you see last night and you're like, well,
I don't know. He was there at Anfield when they lost 7-0. He was very much there.
Yeah.
That was a collapse. Just before we move on, lads, Everton, they're in serious trouble here. Like, I really thought
probably gone.
Thought they'd stay up, and then I was looking around at their players last night, and I was going through them individually, and I was like, yeah, I could see him in the Championship. Could see him. Do you know what was
be a complete? So they're what? So Southampton on 24 points, they're gone. Everton on 28 points, second from bottom. Leicester City on 29, and then you have the teams above that: Forest on 30, Leeds on 30. It's going to be those 5 now, because West Ham in 15th are on 34 points. So you're talking Everton, Leicester, Forest, and Leeds. 2 of those 4 go down.
Was Bazunu dropped last night? Was that the only game he hasn't played?
Yeah, and as Kathleen threw into our group there, first time ever in a round of Premier League games that an Irish player hasn't started.
Who's the stat person we need to thank for that? There was somebody on Twitter that came up with it. It's very good. Very good.
But
stat.
it is.
Irish abroad.
Irish abroad. That's a mad one, isn't it?
It is. I really was surprised that I would have thought that would have happened numerous times.
He, who knows, right? But he's obviously been in. I'm not watching enough Southampton games to know what Gavin Bazunu is like week in, week out. You see a little bit of him. Generally, it's highlights, so he's making a save here or there, and he looks pretty good. He's obviously been amazing for Ireland. I certainly looked at that first goal last night that they conceded, and I thought, Jesus, the keeper sort of gently shuffling across and got caught with the ball coming across him. I don't know, would Bazunu have saved it? I certainly felt as if he'd have been in a better position for it. But I don't know, who knows? I'm not watching enough of it to be able to say for sure.
Alexander Isak, one of the great assists in the Premier League last night.
Top 10.
Top 10. I was putting it out there beforehand. I was like, did he actually do a lot of skill, or did he just run in a straight line and Everton didn't know what to do with him? I think it's because he carried the ball so far.
That is a skill. Running in straight lines.
So
many players don't want to run straight. They're feared. Run for goal. That's something you're told in mini leagues when you're 7 or 8. But like, people
it's hard to run in a straight line because it's the most obvious line that you can run, and you assume that somebody's going to take you out. So actually, the skill of pretending that you're going to take a different angle, is probably
totally. And I think there's actually a lot to be said for, like you said, saying you're right. Like, you should really just go direct at goal, but if you consistently lose the ball that way, you're going to lose your confidence as well. It's like, I keep on getting dispossessed because I'm going straight for goal, which I think is a lot of players take the circuitous route to avoid that confidence hit. It's like, if I go out wide and I get tackled, I'll probably go out for a throw or something, or I'll get something for it. But if you go all out down the middle, which was actually, that's why it was so remarkable to watch Erling Haaland against Arsenal, where he just had no respect for them. and went right down the middle of them consistently.
Yeah.
And Arsenal were getting destroyed as a result. Now, Haaland, I know, is a freak of nature, but I'm surprised more players don't do that and have more confidence. But it just goes to show 'tis all in the head.
Are kids now going to be growing their hair long because Haaland has it? I think Haaland dropping the hair in the 93rd minute and scoring the minute later.
Marketing genius.
Between him and James Lowe, it's like
when I was younger, David Beckham went bald, so I went bald. When Beckham got a Mohican, I got a Mohican.
You went
mullet.
I went bald.
Literally, I went into the barbers and remember Beckham 01, the Greece free kick,
the buzz cut,
shave it. I remember one footballer wore an American bandana. He played for America. And he wore a bandana, so I went to the mini leagues the next week and wore a bandana. And I bought it and got the father to buy it on eBay or something.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very influential what footballers do. So I think a lot of kids are going to be like, can I have the Haaland
flowing locks? There's
an
awful lot more commitment to have to grow your hair that long than there is going in to get a buzz cut chain. Or buy a bandana on eBay. It's like,
a bit more difficult, growing the hair.
I interrupted you there. You were mentioning Bene.
Bene scored for Rotherham last night as well. It was probably a bit of a foul in the lead into it, and he heads it home from close range. Not so spectacular, but we should not let the day go past without name checking that.
Goal to goal, yeah.
By the way, JP Wright, voice actor, feels like he's like a little mini ad for himself going on there every time he comes in.
Love it, yeah.
Man. I met Higgins and Goffs when he beat Hendry in 1989. Is that right?
Alex Higgins, yeah, it would be, yeah.
Hendry.
Stephen Hendry was there, yeah.
89.
Yeah.
89.
Yeah, Hendry won his first World Championship in 90.
Wow.
So there you go.
Gentlemen, and the first time I knew what whiskey smelled like.
There you go. Yeah, it was one of those, I saw Jimmy White the other day talking with Alex Higgins and playing with him. And Ken Doherty has the famous story of Alex Higgins at Goffs, where he was one of those players who could play drunk. Like he just could do it for some reason. And he would if he asked for an orange, he told the usher, if I asked for an orange juice, get me a vodka orange. And if I asked for a vodka orange, get me a double. And that was the consistent thing throughout Goffs. Yeah. And Higgins just, he was a genius, flawed genius, obviously, but unbelievable. I saw him actually in the last few months of his life. I was at an autograph event over in Birmingham in 2010. A load of astronauts were over there, of course. That's why I was there. But Alex Higgins was there, and I couldn't even go up to him because he looked so frail and fraught. And
you love those autograph events. I couldn't think of anything worse.
Really?
Yeah.
They're great crap.
Autographs I never really got. I'm not going to lie.
I was big into them. Back when I think it was like 15, 16, I was really into it.
Yeah.
Like collecting autographs and writing.
So you're still into it?
I don't ask anyone for autographs anymore.
No, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, it's a bit weird,
isn't it?
Kids nowadays just go for the selfies.
Yeah.
That's the new autographs. There's probably something else that people go for, but that's that was my thing.
Noel Cahill says that Spurs are only a big club because of their London location and a lot of friends in the media. So I'm sure that's a topic that we'll come back to again. Here's what's coming up between now and 10.
Sorry, Colm's silence is deafening there.
Jasmine Babb has been standing by for the last few minutes. That's why Colm is getting uneasy and telling us to move on. We're going to dissect last night's game and look a little bit deeper into City Arsenal as well. We're going to have Alan Quinlan to look ahead to the Heineken Champions Cup semi-finals and a few more bits and bobs as well. Gilly Flaherty will join us to reflect on last night's Champions League and also looking ahead to an interesting weekend in the WSL. Anna Capeless will preview the final weekend of Women's Six Nations action. Jess Kelly is back in studio and Shane is off to space a little bit later on, is really all you need to know about that. And Keith Wood was in conversation with Nathan yesterday. That's coming your way at 9:30 this morning. So that's where we're at. Do please keep the comments coming into us. We have loads, as you can tell, to come over the next couple of hours, and it is OTB AM with Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night edition is available now.